Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Guru Pyo Namaha. Hari Om. वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुम्. Okay, we are verse 20 of chapter 5 in Bhagavad Gita. So we finished up to 19. So 20 is, maybe I'll just give a little background. So we had talked about earlier verses that, the Pandit who has realized the self, he looks at the whole world with equal vision. That was the one that we had done. That was an 18. And then he looks at, then they had given different people that Pandit is one firstly who is Vinay and Vidya Sampanna. So this realized master look at Brahman or dog or an elephant or a dog eater or some outcasts, all with the same vision. And we saw from what perspective the same vision. And then while living in the body, he becomes free. That was the main thing that we learned, that, Jivan Mukta, he doesn't get affected by different things. And this is the real goal, supreme goal, to become free from bondage. And why does that happen? Because the ahankar is dissolved. That's why it happens. And so basically how the Swamiji explained this whole thing was that our body and mind and intellect, that we have the equipment, they are not the problem, but when we identify with them and not understand that we are different from them, that causes problem. And he kind of gave a very good example, the Nikhilananji. He said that it's something like we see some fruit, put on the table, and we say, I want to eat that. And we go closer. And then we realize, that fruit is not real. It's made of some plastic. Sometimes these days they make these beautiful fruits or even flowers. Sometimes ulta bhi hota hai. Sometimes real flowers are so beautiful looking. Ye plastic ka hai kya? Whatever. In other words, if I know that the fruit is not real, I'm not going to eat it then. Right? Same way he's saying that once I know I'm not the body, mind, and intellect, I won't get affected by it. Some analogy he gave like that. So he said that in the world, this is like what we call real knowledge. So the real knowledge is what? The worldly knowledge is different. In the world, we get the knowledge of the objects and how to earn money and this and that. But what they are talking about here is self-knowledge. And so a realized master is the one who gets the self-knowledge, means he comes to know the essence of who he is, or he comes to know the pure consciousness, and that's that Satchidanand Brahma. And that's why he looks at the whole world as this equal vision, because he realizes that Atma is the same in everybody. Brahma is the same. So this is just a background. And so he gave a very beautiful example. We have heard this, but it's good to kind of repeat this thing so that it sinks in more. He's saying that Nikhilananji gave the example that, okay, there is this pot and a space, right? So the space which is inside a pot, if it starts thinking, hey, I'm the pot, I'm not the space. So, and then when the moment it starts thinking like that I'm the pot, then it will start comparing itself to other pots. That pot is bigger, it is more beautiful than I am, and things like forgetting that I'm the space. And then the wise person comes and says, hey, space, You are the space, you are not the pot. Don't think like that. So then with space starts contemplating that, oh, I see, I am that space. So then say, oh, the space is actually everywhere. It's inside me, outside me, and that other pot that I'm jealous of, that also has the space, right? And then all of a sudden it realizes, oh, the space is one. So he's saying, oh, that is my essence. It's as though everything exists in me only. See, when we say, oh, the realized master thinks that everything exists, and from what perspective they are thinking, that's what the example is so beautifully explained. So he gets this grand vision. He calls it the grand vision of, oneness. So he's saying, so now coming back to, where does this fit in Bhagavad Gita? That this, to get that grand vision, firstly, we need a little bit of vairagya, dispassion from this book. How do we get the dispassion? Is through karma yoga. So when we do karma yoga, our mind gets purified, and slowly we know that through upasana and knowledge and all, we come to know. So that's the path. So that is the kind of a background. And once you know that, then you become free from bondage of the rebirth. So we have done this much kind of. Now we go into verse 20. So I'm going to chant the verse. Na praharshyet priyam prapya, no dvijet prapya cha priyam, sthira buddhir sammudaha, brahmavid brahmani sthitaha. Na is not, praharshyeta, should rejoice, priyam, the pleasant, prapya, having obtained. No, not. Udvijeta is should be troubled. Udvigna ho jana means, pareshan ho jana kind of thing. Prapya, having obtained. Cha is and. Apriyam, the unpleasant. We have this priya word is, everybody knows, naam bhi hota hai, priya and all that. Apriyam is something that you don't like. Sthira buddhi, one with steady intellect. Asammudaha, undeluded. जिसको मतलब delusion नहीं हो वो. Brahmavit, this is a very important word, knower of Brahman. Brahmani is in Brahman, sthita, established. So as I had mentioned earlier that we have this lakshana of realized person or characteristics of realized person. Person has been repeated in different chapters, and we started from chapter 2. Elaborate description was given that once person who realized, Arjuna had asked that question directly. Here Krishna Bhagavan is telling himself. And why do we need to know that? Because firstly, we are not at that state yet. So this helps us to say, this is the goal that I have to reach. And I can kind of start working towards that a little bit. So it gives us inspiration and clears our doubts and all that, and helps us in our sadhana to know that how the realized person does things and all that. So how that Nikhilananji was explaining that for us at this stage is kind of a difficult concept to even when we have to imagine that, hey, how the whole world existing in me. I just cannot. It's so difficult. Existing, sustaining, and dissolving everything in me. But I was just thinking about it. We get a small glimpse of it for our own world. The same thing happening in our own world. And how, when we go into the deep sleep, everything gets dissolved. And then when we wake up, it literally gets recreated again. And then we whole day, it is when we are awake, moment is sustained. Then again, when we go to deep sleep, we get dissolved. So just to get an idea that what is existing, sustained, and dissolution means. So what is telling you in this verse is the person who has become established in that he does not get affected by the happenings in the world. So because that was one of the main themes of Bhagavad Gita in the beginning also. If you remember, Arjun ko shok ho gaya. Right? He got, very upset, depressed, dejected. And Krishna Bhagavan started with the highest knowledge, because what Upanishad and Gita and all say, until you know this ultimate truth that grief is not going to go away. That's the main thing. If other things just give a little band-aid here and there, or कोई बोलता है ना कि वो तुम्हारा मूड खराब है, जाके सिनेमा देख लो, जाके घूमने चले जाओ, पहाड़ों पे चले जाओ, कुछ भी करो, all those are temporary fix, because the moment you come back again, the same problem happens. So that's why this is the journey that, how and why Krishna Bhagwan is opening up a lot, even more in every verse, that how other things don't affect him when things happen and why. So he's saying that if you look at a realized person versus ignorant person, so जो ignorant person होता है ना, वो जो कुछ भी देखेगा ना, वो हर एक चीज में अपसेट होता रहता है, right? Like किसी ने कुछ बोल दिया, किसी ने और मेरे को ये नहीं मिला, वो नहीं मिला, तो 100 things, okay? And because in the world there is all these dualities there, right? We all know there's good, bad, right, wrong, what you call happy, unhappy, and gain and loss and all that. But so the realized person is not like he's abandoning the world. No? He also lives in the world at a relative stage of his life, in a sense, transactional life, when he deals with his other devotees or whatever. He will indulge in all those things, but deep inside he knows that these are relative concepts. That's the whole picture over here. So, and I think we have gone through this example, but it fits over here, so I will repeat those examples. That whether you are in a sea, in a boat, then you're going up and down. But if you are standing at the shore, you are not going to get affected by that boat going up and down. So ignorant person is as though sitting in the boat. Anything happens, it feels like it's happening to him. But this realized person establishes himself at the shore. So that's why it doesn't happen to him. So it's I think somebody's I think Kamlaji and Sneha, they both, no, Kamlaji has to mute, I think. Yeah, thanks. So basically what happens to this realized person is he neither gets too excited when something conducive happens. Conducive meaning जो मुझे अच्छा लगता है, जो मेरी इंद्रियों को अच्छा लगता है, जो मेरे मन को अच्छा लगता है, वो कुछ हो गया तो वो बहुत ऐसे उछलना शुरू नहीं कर देता है, and because he knows it, this is just passing phase anyway, he has a equanimity, and if something does not go according to his liking, he doesn't get all upset and dejected. So that's the basic thing about this, and then he's going to tell you a few more things that why. So this Nikhilanand ji was saying that ये ऊपर नीचे जाने वाला ना बेस्ट एग्जाम्पल है, कोई फुटबॉल गेम पे चले जाओ तो वहां पर एक गोल होएगा ना तो आधा स्टेडियम एक तरफ चिल्लाएगा, बहुत खुश हो जाएगा, because and the other half will be so sad depending on whose side you are. You see, that kind of uchalna or dejection, that chalu rehta hai. I thought it was such a great example. इसे घर में बैठे बैठे भी लोग इतना excitement, इतना चिल्लाते रहते हैं. So वैसा कुछ इसको नहीं होता है. Okay, that's why he's got a summer thing. He might show some excitement for his devotees and all that, but you should know that inside how he is summer, So, but he's saying that one very important point he brought in, that doesn't mean that he's not going to help somebody who is living in the relative world still at that level. Huh? So he will help those people who are still in that level, and he gave a perfect example of Krishna Bhagwan. Krishna Bhagwan is at that highest level, but when Arjuna got dejected, Krishna Bhagwan helped him. And he came to his level also. He told him from the highest perspective, then he told him from the worldly perspective, from the dharma perspective, every perspective he explained to him. Try to help him as much as possible. So he said, the Nikhilanand ji is a master of giving examples. So he said it's something like, एक PhD वाले को बोलो तुम kindergarten वाले को सिखाओ. तो बोलो उसको इतना शायद excitement नहीं होगा, because he knows so much. And that's why when Arjun was all crying and this and that, and he was saying all these things to Krishna Bhagwan. And when Krishna Bhagwan finally, when Arjun surrendered to him, Krishna Bhagwan as though smilingly gave him the answer. As though smiling, meaning Krishna Bhagwan, because he knows the highest knowledge. So he knew that once, hey, Arjun comes to know, he'll also smile. It's not like he was smiling at because Arjun was depressed. Because he's smiling because he knows something better. So in this PhD example, then go teach kindergarten. He may not be too excited to teach, but out of love of children, he will. He will come down to their level and teach them. I thought that was such a beautiful example he gave of this realized master, And then other beautiful example is given by Tulsi Das Ji, that how this realized master versus, an ignorant person. So he's saying that when it rains, which it rained in San Diego, I don't know if it rained other places, but here, Meenaji knows that it rained at night, after a long time rain came. So when the rain comes, some small puddle gets formed, right? And then when the rain goes away, the puddle dries. So that water is very like कभी है और कभी ड्राई हो गया. लेकिन एक ओशन को कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ेगा. रेन हो नहीं हो, पानी उसमें कभी नहीं सूखेगा. So because ocean, so these realized masters are like ocean. कुछ आए नहीं आए उनको कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता. But the other person is like all upset and dejected and all that. So I thought that was such a beautiful example, And the reason is because their joy does not depend on the world. That's the main thing. Their joy does not depend on the world, even a little bit, even an iota, it doesn't belong. That's why they are in the complete freedom. Yeah. Okay, I just want to make sure that this thing was proper. Yeah. That it was their joy doesn't depend, and they are in this grand freedom they are in. And why they are in grand freedom? The other reason is their buddhi is sthira buddhi bola यहाँ पर word use किया sthira buddhi. So then what is a sthira versus asthira buddhi? So he's saying that Nikhilanand ji gave this example. He's saying हम लोग की बुद्धि थोड़ी अभी स्थिर नहीं हुई है. तो अगर जो स्थिर नहीं होती ना बुद्धि, एक फिलॉसफी पढ़ी, हाँ ये बहुत अच्छा है, फिर कुछ ऑपोजिट पढ़ लिया ना, हाँ ये भी ठीक है. Like इधर से उधर हम जा रहे हैं. And मतलब जब भी हम लोग प्रवचन सुनेंगे ना, तो हाँ ब्रह्म है, एवरीथिंग वी आई एम ऑल्सो ब्रह्म. जैसे ही हम लोग प्रवचन खत्म हुआ, घर आए और संसार में डूबे, भूल ही गए. That's asthira buddhi, he said, shifting constantly, So he's saying that if it is really gets established, when you really believe in this, that oneness and everything, he's saying that the ego cannot stand a chance. At that stage, when you completely believe in this knowledge and it kind of sinks down deep in you, the ego will literally just kind of shrivel away. It has no chance to stand. That's why these people are so samabuddhi, And but if the knowledge just stays in the surface of your mind, has not sunk in with mananam and nididhyasan and all that, contemplation and thinking and all that, it does not become your own, then it will be a problem. And he gave the example of in India, at least our generation, when we were going to high school and all that, remember they used to have the final exam, and the whole year's thing used to be in the final exam. Abhi ki tarah nahi hai, ya is country ki tarah nahi hai ki everything you do counts, your homework counts, and their final exam was everything. And so हम लोग उसको रट्टा लगाना बोलते थे. Have you heard? Remember that word? रट्टा लगाना. बैठ के memorize everything, and you just kind of vomit it out at the exam time, and then you come back and say, oh छुट्टी, now I'm done. और फिर 5 दिन के बाद कोई पूछेगा कि वो क्या है, तो oh I don't remember, I don't care, because it has not become your own. I thought that was such a beautiful example. So he's saying that the knowledge, if it sits like that, ratta laga ke, just, memorize the verses and I know all that, blah, blah, blah. Nothing is going to happen because it has not sunk inside. So he's saying that when it goes into your subconscious, mind, then only that sthira buddhi happens. So that was a very good example that he gave. And with what happens with the sthira buddhi is your delusion goes away. And delusion is that I am this mind, body, and intellect. This. So he's saying that the same thing like a clean mirror, उसका जो मन होता है ना मिरर की तरह क्लीन हो जाता है, no dirt in it, no delusion in it. It's like you see your face exactly the way it is. So you see the world exactly the way it is. You see Brahman, you see the substratum, because all the moh is gone. So with the proper studies, inquiry, contemplation, you can recognize the self. And that's why the last part of it is that this person is Brahmavid ho jata hai wo. Brahmavid is, those Mahavakyas are there that I had talked about a long time ago, and you guys probably know these now. Aham Brahmasmi. I am that Brahman, I am Atma Brahma. These are all Mahavakyas, or another very famous one, Satyam Gnanam Anantam Brahma, because he gets established in this truth, the true knowledge, and that is like Anant is, eternal Brahma. So because anybody who has that kind of knowledge and get convinced, he himself becomes Brahman. And that example that we gave, that when the river goes to the ocean, it becomes ocean. So knower of the ocean becomes the ocean, basically. That's what it is. So this is that final goal which is indicated by the Bhagavad Gita and Upanishad. And the Nikhilanaji gave a very good point also. He said, Bhagavad Gita and Upanishad, they are not interested to take you to Swarga or any temporary place. Because Vedo mein wo sab bhi hai, no? Yagna, yaga, you do for to gain this, gain that, and all that prosperity in the world, go to Swarga and all. Then they are not interested in it. They just want to straight take you. So that's why this is that final knowledge. They are interested in your final journey. So they don't give too much importance to that other stuff. And then, so this is what this verse is all about. And the next one is going to talk about, फिर भी कोई पूछेगा मुझे क्या मिलेगा, तो बोलेंगे बताएंगे कि क्या मिलेगा, but supreme happiness you will get. That's the next verse. But this particular verse has all these masala in it. Anybody has any question, comment, or want to add anything? Okay, so we can read. Any volunteers? Anybody wants to read today? If not, I'll go back to the three people who always read. Meenaji, you can start.
Right. It's a beautiful verse. I don't mind reading.
Yeah.
Resting in Brahman with steady intellect and undiluted, the knower of Brahman neither rejoices on obtaining what is pleasant, nor grieves on obtaining what is unpleasant. Just as an excellent artist working at his masterpiece on his canvas would again and again approach his piece of art to add more details with finer strokes to his picture, and would again and again retreat from the canvas to gaze at his art from a distance, so too here the Lord is creating with his chosen words the picture of the mental life of a man of equipoise and perfection upon the canvas of man's heart. He dictates many stanzas in order that the picture may clearly and vividly come into the recognition and appreciation of even the ordinary casual student. Here is yet another stanza offered with a burning enthusiasm and almost missionary zeal, so that Arjuna, the confused, may come to gain a vivid picture of the man of perfection who is not a mere impotent stone idol on the Ganges banks, but a veritable dynamic factor that molds and influences his generation of fellow beings.
So there are a couple of points over here. I mean, when I was reading this, I was thinking of Shireen. She does painting and all that. So he's saying how this, your artist goes behind. Oh, this is missing. Let me put this. So he's putting more strokes for Arjun to I thought that Swamiji said it so beautifully. So sometimes when we think, oh, this person doesn't get excited when he gets something, and he doesn't get dejected when he, okay, it become like a stone or what? Like that's what people, he has no feeling. It's not like that at all. In fact, if you think about it, this person is fearless. So he can enjoy the world to the maximum level. So because it's like his joy will be a true joy, because if we get something, say, oh, Bhagwan ka prasad hai, I will enjoy, and kuch chala gaya, he's not going to worry about it. The worst case scenario, because suppose some untimely death happens and all that, we get so depressed, dejected. That person looks at it as, oh, this was a jewel given by the God, and now God just took it or something. Their thinking is so elevated and high. That's why they kind of enjoy everybody and everything, to the fullest, because of the fearlessness. I just wanted to bring that point, because otherwise there's some confusion happens in our mind that wo khali wo sare time kya meditation mein baitha rehta hai 24 hours and doesn't engage with the world. No, he engages fully and he does everything. Deep inside he knows. Just,
Ordinarily, man gets excited or becomes despondent not because of the happenings in the outer world, but because of his individual contact with them. If any man dies in the city, it is no tragedy to me. But when my father dies, it is my calamity. It's my calamity. This clearly proves that the death of a man in itself cannot bring any disturbance to my mind unless my mind had already projected itself on its relationship to the individual who has died. The man of perfection who has won over his mind and has come to experience the infinite self can no more, therefore, feel any joy on receiving what is pleasant, nor grieve on receiving what is unpleasant. It does not mean that a man of perfection is a wooden doll or an iron statue incapable of reacting to the external things, whether they be pleasant or unpleasant. It only means that a man of true inward culture discovers in himself, in his own wisdom, a balance and an equipoise which cannot be shattered very easily.
So, Swamiji took another angle to explain this, that how it happens, because he has found his internal balance in himself and all that. So just all the things that we talked about, why he's has a steady wisdom. Now we know, delusion is gone. He knows the oneness, and that's why happenings of the world, it doesn't affect him, just like it affects an ignorant person. And I wrote down over here on my thing, and this was, I think, Ramdev Baba had said this sentence, because I used to do yoga and watch him, long time ago. He used to say, "Na bhogo, na bhago, bas jago." So I thought that was so good. He doesn't say कि भाग जाओ जो भी तुमको मिला है वो enjoy मत करो. Nothing like that. He's saying whatever God has given, enjoy. बस जागो. I thought that was so significant. Yeah.
Could it be that he is the witness, even witness to his body? So he sees things happening in the body, whereas the mind and the intellect all are in the body. And
True.
Therefore, he can vision as anybody else having that, a person dying, a person feeling joy. He can witness that, and he can witness the same to his body as well.
Yeah, I think that you can say it that way for sure. Because the way Swamiji explained that a particular death happens somewhere, we don't sit and cry. My relative, I do.
Yes.
So because I have a connection with that from my mind.
Yes.
That's why. So, but his mind And intellect have become so pure because he's seeing the oneness. So in the oneness, and then secondly, for us, we always feel as though this is the only life, right? When suppose some death happens in the family, the moment we bring this wisdom in, hey, that person is still there. He was there before, he's going to be there, and so is me. But in this life, we were all put together. And I mean, if you really see that many master, many life book, whoever has read and all, these connections go on for a long time. So most of the people who are in our life, हम उनसे पहले भी मिले हैं, आगे भी मिलेंगे, थोड़ा relationship change हो सकता है, but it's like a group traveling together literally for like upliftment, of the soul. So the moment you know bigger picture, फिर भी हमको शांति मिलेगी. But if you just stay in this delusion that ye bas, womb to tomb, that's the only life, that's when all the grief begins. Severe grief तभी चालू होता है. So जितना हम expand करेंगे, and this person has expanded to the highest. So true, he has become a witness. So that's another way of looking at it.
When a man of such superhuman mental steadfastness is analyzed, we can easily discover that no condition or circumstances in the outer world can ever gain an entry into the inner precincts of his personality. His intellect becomes steady, since it is not poisoned with the usual egocentric misconceptions. It is, in fact, very interesting to note how the ideas arranged in this stanza, in their very sequence, explain a wondrous truth. One who is unaffected by the presence of things, good or bad, is the one whose intellect is steady. And the one whose intellect is steady is the one in whom all the delusions have ended. A steady intellect from which all the delusions have dropped becomes the instrument for knowing Brahman. And the one who knows Brahman becomes Brahman, and therefore comes to live established in the Brahmic consciousness of infinite beatitude, a living God-man walking upon the earth that is Olympus to him.
So Swamiji explained that, in his own words, that, when all the delusions are gone, my mind is steady, that's when it becomes the right instrument for knowing the Brahman. So वैसे भी हमने यही, whole Geeta is all about that. It told you the highest state, and then it told you how to get there. That's what is the Gyan and the Yoga. That yoga means how to get to that stage. It's a technique to get to that stage. And once you completely reach that stage, then you yourself become that, And to me, that no better example than that Nadi becoming an ocean that we see physically happening. And that's why, जब जहाँ भी वो नदी मिलती है ना सागर से, वहीं पर वो होली जगह बन जाती है, right? Like Ganga Sagar is there, और जब 3 नदियाँ मिलती हैं, उसको भी बोला गया, because individual personality is gone. That's the whole significance of that place. Triveni जिसको बोलते हैं उधर इलाहाबाद में, there are three nadis coming together, merging with each other, or Ganga Sagar, on the east की वे गंगा जाके सागर में मिल गई. It's a very holy place because Ganga lost its astitva and became one with the sagar. It's like we losing our astitva and becoming one with the Brahman. That's the whole significance of that. Anybody has any question, comment, or want to add anything to this whole picture of Krishna Bhagavan that he painted for Arjun and us, through Arjun for us? Very, very quiet class today.
Pretty simple words, so it's good.
Okay, so what if nobody has anything to say or go further? What I want to do today is go to, even though there is some time, I want to go to Kathopanishad.
I can comment a little bit.
Sure, go ahead, Joe.
This lecture I heard on Samadhi. I've sent to everybody.
Yeah, उसका जो voice था वो ठीक नहीं था, so I started
No,
listening. I
you
could
have
not.
you have to go on your iPhone in the voice, and then you have to adjust the voice.
Oh.
But basically, in fact, I'm going to summarize it. I heard to hear it twice also.
Yeah, please summarize for us. Yeah.
So he said that every time you do meditation, you put a layer in your body which counteracts with the external items. So like gradually this you get a flip. That's when you go in samadhi. Now once you go in samadhi, you become Brahm. And then the God sends you back to do something. So your mind and everything is totally belongs to God, not to you.
Very good.
And which kind of compares with what you were talking about.
Yeah.
And also, when you do samadhi, your body is dead. That was another point he made. So, because physical body is dead.
So dead in a metaphoric sense.
Even in meditation, when you are there, your body is no longer there. That's when you are meditating.
But so anyway, it is a pausing state, isn't it? It's a pause. I mean, body is there, but it's a pause.
It's just a way of saying it. It's not like the person dies, no.
Yeah. Okay.
When you are in meditation mode, your body is in the dead mode. That's what he's talking about.
And some people even believe that when you are sleeping, they call it as mini death only. When you are deep sleep, because your body is non-functional, no, that time. That's why. So it just it's a way of saying. It doesn't mean that actually, that when that becomes too technical. When person completely dies, means all the pranas are gone and all that. And your pranas are just.
About Ramakrishna, when he was in samadhi mode, then the doctor will touch. He will find no heartbeat.
That's it. So actually.
So anyway, he has some very good points. The way he explained. So if we can. I don't know if I can clean up that recording because I could hear better because in the recording it said you can change the speed, you can change the filter,
They also usually put it on YouTube. So if they have were they recording Joe when he was speaking? Those people recording it?
Must be.
Because they always put their stuff. So if you are connected with them, just ask them because if they have done it, it will be all very good quality one. Then we all can listen.
It was a good lecture, yeah.
But it wasn't Sarvapriya. That was a different guy.
No, he was from Southern California. Another.
You said by Sarvapriyananda. So
no,
it was another Swamiji. Yes.
It was another Swami. They have in San Diego only.
He's in Southern California. He's in actually Hollywood.
See, these organizations are very big and they have many swamis of different heads of different places and they all go to each other's place and, give all these lectures. So we all can benefit from it, yeah. Okay. Anybody else?
It was down to earth lecture, not to the Vedanta lecture. So he was bringing practical items.
Because that's what people connect to more. And that's why even Chinmayananji does that. You saw in his commentary and all, you always bring it down to the practical level. Because otherwise, people, after a while, you lose interest if it is not practical for you. Okay, I want to learn philosophy, but why? If it's not going to help me in my daily life. And so, true.
No, because I never realized that why meditate. I always question because somebody told me I meditated in my previous life, so I don't have to do this time. What he said was when you meditate, you counteract your body's problems outside. So each layer, makes it better for you to live.
I mean,
so once you...
that is
Kama, Krodh, Lobh, Moh, Matsarya will disappear with meditation.
Yeah, that's the only way. That's the only way because it is the path is also given. Shravanam, Mananam, Nididhyasan. Nididhyasan is meditation. It's like we were talking about in the verse that's when it sinks deeper into you.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's like somebody saying, I want to learn swimming. And then they just stay at the level of, ओ ऐसे हाथ चलाना चाहिए, वैसे करना, कभी पानी में ही नहीं कूदेगा वो, तो फिर वो स्विम कैसे करेगा, right? He can become a master of like telling somebody how to swim, but he himself doesn't do it, then it's not going to happen. So that's true 100%, you know. But they are just telling you that first you got to listen, clear all your doubts. Then if you sit in meditation, then it will be the most fruitful. Because otherwise, if your mind is not quiet, then all the doubts will keep bugging you, and then you won't be able to make your mind quiet. So that's the whole process they're talking about.
Three important points he made was that in Samadhi, curtain of Maya drops and the mind gets external. You go in Samadhi, you come out a changed person with all the knowledge. Then he said, he was talking about, I didn't write it properly, but in provision of yoga, Nirodh controlled, put closes layer by layer by practice. They encounter the worldly sanskara. So every layer encounters the worldly sanskara. So once you have enough layers put in, then you switch. And that's when you attain the samadhi.
Mm-hmm.
So keep doing the meditation and eventually you will get there. In many lifetimes.
Well, Krishna Bhagavan says you can get it in this life. So let's have that hope. Yes. Every life has when we get a human birth,
right,
every time we have the chance to burn up all our vasanas.
Right.
So, so we should just not think about, like our teacher used to say like that. So हम लोग होते हैं ना अगले जन्म में करेंगे, बोलती थी क्यों जाए अभी तो परेशान नहीं हो गए क्या तुम लोग, मुझे तो नहीं चाहिए अगला जन्म, like that. So we have to kind of convince ourselves and get excited about, hey, I can do it in this life. I thought that was really good point. Okay.
So what is the name of the organization, Priya?
What is the name of what?
Organization.
Of the organization you're talking?
Vedanta Society.
Oh, Vedanta.
Yeah, they have their in Houston, I mean not Houston, in San Diego it is in downtown. क्या नाम है उस street का जहाँ पर है वो? बड़ा interesting सा नाम है उसका.
I sent the recording to everybody.
Upas Street. Whenever they say Upas, मेरे को उपवास ही समझ में आता है, वो उपवास street में बोलती हूँ उसको. या कभी chance मिलेगा तो जाना. Actually, Joe, you had sent me and I completely slipped my mind. Otherwise, I would have gone. I don't think I was doing anything that important that morning, but I forgot. That's why I didn't go.
They broadcast it. I just did on Zoom.
Okay. Oh, you did on Zoom. Okay. Yeah, because वो property भी, that's very nice. It's nice house and the nice garden and all that. It's nice to go there. They have one room you can sit and meditate. It's a nice place for all of us to visit.
Oh yeah, sure. We should go sometime.
Yeah, we should go. अभी थोड़ा COVID थोड़ा और ठीक हो जाए उसके बाद हाँ फिर हम चलेंगे.
Also, the Trabuka monastery is pending too.
Yes, that's also pending. We have many pending things. Okay. All right,
COVID is putting on still.
Huh?
COVID is putting everybody on stills.
Yeah, it's okay. It'll go away. Okay, I'm going to close Bhagavad Gita here.
Okay.
सर्वधर्मान् परित्यज्य मामेकं शरणं व्रज अहं त्वा सर्वपापेभ्यः मोक्षयिष्यामि मा शुचः. हरि ओम श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः.